Happy Halloween Halfbloods! Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Annabeth Chase from the Percy Jackson series, and today I'm going to be doing my October wrap-up. I feel like October went by in such a blink. It feels like we were just at the beginning of the month and now it is Halloween, one of my favorite days of the year, and I've had such a blast this Halloween weekend going out with friends, handing out candy, carving pumpkins, and I'm really sad to see it go, but I know November is also going to be great. But while there is still a little bit of October left, I thought I would do my wrap up for the month in costume. Let me know down below what you guys are planning to be this Halloween, or if you're not planning to dress up, tell me what was one of your favorite costumes in the past. The reason I wanted to be Annabeth Chase this year is, yes, because I had blonde hair and a Camp Half-Blood shirt, but also because Annabeth was one of my biggest literary role models growing up. She was brave and clever and so cool, and I just wanted to be her. So today is the day that I have decided to embrace all of my Annabeth Chase-ness and fully embody her this Halloween. I also kind of feel like Annabeth this month because this month I read 10 books, which is amazing. I feel like I've been kind of slumping the past few months, but I had a really good reading month this month with books I really enjoyed, and I had an average rating of 4.25. Yes, I calculated the rating. I have fully embraced Annabeth Chase. So yeah, I can't wait to talk about all these amazing books that I read this month. So the first book that I read in October was The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. This is a thriller, horror, mystery book, which was perfect for the spooky season. I've told you guys a little bit in the past that I was really worried about reading this book because it's so outside of my comfort zone, but I ended up really enjoying it and giving it 4 stars. This book follows Mariana, who is a group therapist who gets a frantic call from her niece saying that her best friend was murdered. So she drives on over to Cambridge University and becomes convinced that the killer of all these young women is this Greek mythology professor named Edward Fosca, and she spends the entire book trying to prove that he's guilty and kind of going crazy while doing it. One thing I particularly enjoyed about this book was the atmosphere. If you like dark academia, mystery, someone's watching you vibes, then I think you will really enjoy this one. Also, as someone who is a big lover of Greek mythology, if you can't tell, getting to have that woven in the book was really special, and I just thought the entire atmosphere and creepiness of it was perfect. So if you're looking for something to scare you but not like terrify you, definitely check out The Maidens. I gave it 4 stars. The next book I read in October was The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams, and I gave this book 5 stars. This was my first time reading Sarah Adams. She's a really great romance novelist, and a lot of people had been recommending me her books, so when I saw this one on Kindle Unlimited, I downloaded it and I loved it. This is a slow burn romance between 2 friends named Nathan and Bree. Bree is a dance instructor, Nathan is a football player, and they've both liked each other for a really long time, but none of them have had the courage to say anything. So when an incident happens in the papers that causes them to have to start up this fake relationship, both of them are gonna have to kind of confront their feelings for one another. I am not usually a huge fan of slow burn. I like my romance right off the bat, but there was something really intriguing about this slow burn romance, about you have these 2 friends with already so much connection between them. To see it kind of slowly evolve into a romance was really satisfying in a way that I wasn't expecting, and I just love friends to lovers tropes because you already have that great connection, as I said, already built in, and then you just have to add the romance part. So I really enjoyed this one. It was super cute, very wholesome. I liked the writing style, and I like how she kind of talks about toxic masculinity. One of the main characters has a lot of panic attacks, and he has a lot of trouble kind of coming to terms with that and admitting that he has anxiety. So I really liked that conversation as well, and I just thought they were just so bubbly and wonderful together, and I'm really looking forward to reading more of Sarah Adams' work if it is like this one. So I really enjoyed it, and as I said, I gave it 5 stars. The next book that I read in October was a new release, and that is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I have this special edition, so it actually has 2 different covers. You have This one with one of the main characters named Evangeline, and then you have Jax, the Prince of Hearts, on the other side. So I have this very cool edition. Once Upon a Broken Heart is a new story set in the world of Caraval, which is the other series by Stephanie Garber. And this one follows another character from the Caraval universe named Jax, and a new character who we hadn't been introduced to before named Evangeline. When Evangeline finds out that the man that she loved is marrying another, she elicits Jax's help in order to stop the wedding, but of course, as things usually do with Jax, things devolve into chaos, and the two of them have to solve all these problems together. I really loved this book. I love Stephanie Garber's writing. Her world building is so exquisite, as is her character building. She just really makes characters you want to root for and that you want to fall in love with. So just to like have that back and that kind of writing back in my life was just really wonderful. I consumed this book, and I'm really excited for this new series and to see how aspects of the previous series will fit in here, and I'm just very excited for all of it. I gave it 5 stars. I told you guys I had a really good reading month this month. I'm really happy with the majority of stuff that I read. The next book that I read in October is another spookier book, and that is The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones. This is a zombie novel actually, and once again I was a little wary going into this because zombies aren't really my thing, but there was just something so, once again, atmospheric and lyrical about this book. I couldn't help fall in love. Emily Jones's writing was really beautiful, and it was almost like reading a fairy tale. This is a story about a girl who digs graves in a world where sometimes the dead bodies rise up from the ground. Usually they don't bother anyone, but recently, with the arrival of a new boy in town, these zombies, or bone houses as they're called, start to get a little more bold and start coming into the town and attacking people. So our main character goes with this boy on a quest to see what is fueling these bone houses, what magic is there, and if they can stop it. I wouldn't say this book is scary so much as eerie. It's definitely a dark atmosphere, but once again, it was like almost a beautiful dark atmosphere, and I really enjoyed reading it, even though I didn't think I was going to. So I gave this 4.5 stars, and I really liked it. So the next 3 books that I read were in a series, and I got this series on Kindle Unlimited. I'd seen a lot of people on Book Talk actually really raving about this series, and I was super intrigued, so I picked it up. It is the Plated Prisoners series by Raven Kennedy, and it consists of Gild, Glint, and Gleam. There is going to be a 4th book in this series, but it's not coming out till next year. I just read all of the books that were out now. This series is a retelling of the King Midas story. It tells the story of a girl named Orin who was on the streets until she was rescued from them by King Midas, and he gives her a golden touch, turning her entire body, hair, eyes, everything into gold. She now lives a very charmed life in King Midas's golden castle within a golden cage, because King Midas has told her that the cage protects her from the outside world. But her very privileged existence is threatened when she finds out that the king may not be all that he says he is. That's a pretty vague summary for the first book. I don't want to spoil anything, but what I can tell you is that this series has really amazing plot and character development. I mean, from the first book to the last book, Orin's journey is just so interesting and changes so much. There are so many twists and turns throughout this book. I found myself at the edge of my seat the entire time. I do want to acknowledge there are some trigger warnings for this book. I would definitely look some up before you dive into it. There is a lot of violence in this book, a lot of sexual violence as well, so just be aware of that before going into it. But I found it such an intriguing and amazing read. I was so captivated. They are all on Kindle Unlimited right now if you would like to check them out. I gave Gild 3 stars, Glint 4 stars, and Gleam 4 stars. So it was just really such a cool story, and I'm so excited for the last book in the series. So the next book I read in October was The School for Good and Evil by Soman Chainani. This was the group book for the Frady Cats Readathon, and I will kind of go into my wrap-up of the Readathon at the end of this video. I gave this book 3 stars. This book took me on quite a ride. It is about Sophie and Agatha, who live in this town where every few years 2 children are kidnapped into the forest and forced to attend the School for Good or Evil. Sophie has wanted to go to the School for Good her entire life and train to be a princess, and Agatha couldn't care less. But when the 2 friends are kidnapped and Sophie is sent to the bad school and Agatha is sent to the good school, their entire lives are thrown into turmoil. This book is also going to be turned into a Netflix series soon, which I'm really excited about. I've been looking at some of the pictures and it looks so magical. I'm really excited to see how they translate the story into film. Personally, I really liked aspects of this book. I really liked Agatha and her character development and her journey of self-acceptance and self-love throughout this novel. I thought she was a really great character, but Sophie, on the other hand, I had a lot of trouble reading about. I mean, the author made her really unlikable and shallow, and I really hated reading her sections because I really hated her. It got a little bit more interesting with her at the end, but I don't really know if she's had a lot of growth through this book. So if I do plan to continue on with this series, I would need to know if Sophie grows as a character or if she is still this kind of one-dimensional, shallow person, if you know what I mean. I also thought this book was way too long. I think it could have used a lot of editing because there were times I was just drifting off. I was so bored with the action and I just wanted something more to happen besides filler stories. So I think with some character development edits and some plot edits, this could have been a 5-star read for me, but it wasn't. So it's just a 3-star read for me because I really did enjoy Agatha's story, which definitely saved the book for me. And yeah, those are my thoughts on School for Good and Evil. All right, we have 2 more books to talk about, the first of which is Kingdom of the Cursed by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the 2nd book in the Kingdom of the Wicked series, and it was so much better than the first one. The first book kind of peeked into this world, but this one really dove right into it. The story, the characters, oh, it was all good stuff. This series follows Amelia DiCarlo after her twin sister Vittoria is murdered. She is forced to team up with Wrath, who is one of the princes of hell, in order to solve her murder. I thought the mystery aspect of the first book was really interesting, but this book was just so much more. There was mystery, there was intrigue, there was a prophecy and a secret plot and secrets being revealed, and it was just so engaging and wonderful the entire time. If you didn't enjoy Kingdom of the Cursed, I think you will probably enjoy this one a whole lot better. Not to mention it's a little bit steamier. So I just had such a blast reading this book. I even annotated a little bit because there were some lines that just blew me away. Where's the one I'm thinking of? I chose a violent, bloody shade of red and painted my lips the color of murder. I mean, that is such good writing. Like, my heart stopped when I read that line. It was just such an amazing book. All around, 5 stars. I adored this one, and I cannot wait to see how much better the 3rd book will be, because I feel like sequels are usually not amazing. Usually people enjoy the 1st and 3rd books of series, so the fact that the 2nd book was so good gives me a lot of hope. Okay, so the final book that I read in October was A Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is a prequel series to her From Blood and Ash series, so it is set in the same universe, in the same world, but like 1,000 years earlier. In this book, we follow Serafina, who has been training her entire life to be the consort to the primal of death. So a primal is kind of like a mega god. There are gods and then there are primals. Her land has been ravaged by famine and disease, and she has been told that the only way to end this all is to kill the primal of death after making him fall in love with her. But when she meets the Primal of Death, obviously things do not go according to plan. This was also an amazing book. I mean, if you have seen any of my videos, you probably have picked up that Jennifer L. Armentrout is one of my favorite authors of all time. I have been reading her since I was in middle school, and I literally love everything she does, and I really liked this book. I'd like to preface this by saying I know that there is a typo on the back of the book. A lot of people have been dragging this entire book through the mud because there is a typo on the back, even though the typo is probably not even Jennifer's fault. Her writing is in the book. It's not on the cover of it, but they actually said, they wrote a kingdom of fleesh and fire. Fleesh. And it's pretty funny, but I don't think that should stop you from checking out the actual book. Once again, Jennifer's writing and her storytelling ability are unparalleled in my mind. She really knows how to write characters that I personally feel like I can relate to. I loved Serafina, and I love how this book still referenced From Blood and Ash and even gave us some clues as to what's going to happen next in that series. A lot of people have also said that this book is almost like a duplicate of Poppy and Hawk from the first From Blood and Ash book. And while I do think that they're similar, there are enough differences that this book can stand on its own, if you know what I mean. Overall, I am so happy with it. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. I went in very warily, but I am so happy that I picked it up and I read it. It was just such a fun fantasy book, and I gave it 5 stars. And those were the 10 books that I read in October. It was a good reading month. As some of you know, I also hosted a readathon this month with my friends Alexa and Nikki called the Frady Cats Readathon. My goal was to complete all 3 pathways that we had done, and I think I got all of them but one. So starting with the Haunted Pumpkin Patch, I read a book for Sweet Treat, which is a romance book, and I read The Cheat Sheet. And I read a book for Happily Ever After, which is a retelling. I read School for Good and Evil, which is a retelling of fairy tales, as well as Guild also counts as a retelling of a fairy tale because it's a retelling of King Midas. So I finished off that path. The next path that I finished was the Haunted Mansion path, the first of which was to read a book with a smart main character. I read The Maidens because the main character was a psychologist. And the next one was Haunted Mansion, read a book that takes place in a haunted location. And I think The Bone Houses counts for that one because it was a town plagued by zombies, so I would call that pretty haunted. The only path I did not finish was the Graveyard path. I read Poe, which is read a book starting with P, O, or E. For that, I read Once Upon a Broken Heart, but I did not read a book for Creepy Crawlies, which is read a book with an animal/insect on the cover. I'm actually in the middle of a book with an insect on the cover, but alas, it is too late for me to count that. But overall, I feel really good about what I got done for the readathon. It was such a fun month getting to chat with you guys through live shows and things like that, so I'm really happy with that as well. And my friends, that is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to leave down below what you are being for Halloween or what you have been in the past, and let me know what you read this month, what you enjoyed reading this month. I would love to hear all of it. If you guys liked this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Hit the notification bell to get updates on when I post. I post every single week, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye! Fuck. Okay. Happy. I can't get. That didn't go well.